Hi, good morning. Today we are going to discuss about the test design or test case design. In this session, we are going to cover what is test case, what is use case, what is test scenario. And very commonly asked question in interview, difference among the use case, test scenario, and test case. First, you understand the definition point of view, what is test case, what is use case, and test a scenario. The next session I am going to explain to you how to identify test scenarios, then how to prepare the test cases in template. The first thing, test case. What is this test case? A test case describes a validation procedure of a specific requirement in application. A test case describes a validation procedure of a specific requirement in application. An example, I have the login functionality I want to test. How to test the step-by-step procedure it going to be describes. How it going to describes in terms of user actions and system response. That means expected behavior. Step by step we are going to write. A test case consists set of steps or sequence of steps with user actions and subsequent response from the system. What type of operation we need to perform? While performing operations, how application need to respond. Step by step, we are going to write. Who is responsible to prepare the test cases? When we are going to start writing test cases in general, after necessary training sessions, that is called KTs, knowledge transfer sessions. After necessary training sessions, here about domain knowledge, your domain expert or subject matter expert will give the some KT session on the project. So once that session is completed, or maybe they give the requirement documents to you. So based on that, we are go for the test cases preparation. Okay. Inputs to prepare test cases. Which document generally we are going to refer to derive the test cases. The very first one and very common thing is requirement documents like BRS, business requirement specification, and functional requirement specification. What is this BR describes? BR describes the brief description or core business logic of the client in terms of who are the users for the application and required services for those users. Suppose if I go for the one bank application, banker is one user, bank employee means banker, account holder, customer, one user, administrator is one type of user. So my bank application, these three types of users are going to use. For each user, what type of services required in the system? That is described with the BRS. BRS describes a brief description or core business logic of the client. FRS. FRS describes the detailed functionality flow of the application. In this FRS, it describes the each component, how it has to behave, and what type of operations it allows. So this thing detailed way it will describes. The second one is use case document. Second one is use case document. So use case. Third one is user interface design document. Fourth one, test scenarios. Okay. So these are the inputs for the test engineers to derive the test cases. Whereas use case, user interface design documents are optional, majority of the cases. So requirement document they are going to give scenarios. Okay, but sometimes we are going to find the use case and use the interface design document. Let me explain one by one here. What is the use case? Use case describes functional behavior. Use case describes functional behavior from user's perspective in terms of actor's action and system response. In terms of actor's action and system response. How functionality flow in the application will be described in this use case document. In terms of user perspective, how it has to work. Whereas it is an optional, in general, use case document will be provided whenever requirements are not clear in a forest document. So for testers point of view, when functionality is complex to understand in requirement documents, then only so they provide the use case document. Okay, what is use case? Use case describes functional behavior from user's perspective in terms of actor's action and system response. System response. I given an example here. Try to understand my here. The use case for create new branch by an administrator. I have one application, banking application. In this application, administrator want to create the new branch. How this functionality flow described by the use case document. Try to understand. What are the key components are there? Actor, action, system, response. So here, actor means user who is going to use the application, their operations. Based on their operations, how application need to respond. So that information given. Actor login. Here actor means administrator. When admin login, system displays admin module. Actor select branches. Their system displays branches a details page. Actor click new branch. System displays the new branch entry page. Actor enters necessary fields with valid data and click submit. Then system displays a message new branch created successfully with branch ID with OK button. Like that, how the application functionality flow is going to be described. Application functionality flow it is going to be described here. So actor action, system response. So you can pause the recording, just watch it again how the use case document is going to be. Right. Got it. This is the way how the use case document is going to be. Next. GUI or user interface design document. What is that GUI design document? In general, during the design phase in software development life cycle, during the design phase, this kind of document is going to prepare. So GUI contains a model of the application. Nothing but we can say prototypes or blueprint of the application. Before coding, this kind of document will be prepared. Prototypes will help to foresee the future implementation of application. When you see prototypes, you will get a better idea how application is going to be developed. Compared to the FRS document, if you have the GA design document, you will get some idea. Easily you can understand that how the page looks like, what are the components they are going to maintain. This idea you are going to get. Now look into this one here, prototype. So it is a new branch creation. Just now I explained about the use case document. So for this one, how the prototype looks like, what are the components are there. So this idea you are going to get. Instead of imagination, how this page looks, you are going to get a better idea. That is the GI design document. The third one is test scenarios. What is test scenario? It describes a test condition or requirement or functionality which we need to validate in application. which we need to validate in application. A test scenario can have one or more number of test cases. A test scenario can have one or more number of test cases. Look at this one here. Test scenario means, simple example, user registration is one scenario. User login is one scenario in application, right? There is a test condition or requirement or functionality which we need to validate in applications is test scenario. What is the advantage of this kind of test scenarios? Based on test scenarios, we can able to identify possible number of test cases need to be drafted. How many test cases required for this project? We can get some idea when you go for the test scenarios. The another advantage is with help of test scenarios, we can provide complete test case coverage for a project. Complete test case coverage for a project. That the advantages are there. But some interviews, they may ask the question to you, who will going to prepare the test scenarios? Who will going to identify test scenarios? Based on the availability of the resource, so it can be test lead is going to identify the list of scenarios to you, or sometimes he may ask you test scenarios to identify. So in interview point of as an experienced person, so you can say that I identify test scenarios in my project. As a 1+ years of experience only, not much experience, then you can say that scenarios are identified by test lead. They given the scenarios based on that we prepare test cases. You have to say it is okay. Test scenarios. This is the meaning. Now, very commonly asked question interviews point of time. Explain difference among the use case, test scenario, and test case. Difference among the use case, test scenario, and test case. Now you observe my here the relation how it is going to means use case is there. Based on the use case, we can identify test scenarios. So based on the use case, test scenario 1 is identified, right? Test scenario 2, test scenario 3. Again, from this test scenario, we can identify the number of test cases. TC01. A scenario can have one or more number of test cases. Okay, like this. This test scenario 2 will have only one test case. Test scenario 3 will have the two test cases. TC05, TC06, like this. Okay, that is about the relation how it is going. From use case, you can derive the test scenario. From test scenario to test case. Okay, this is the sequence how it is going to be. When it is similar to the FRS, when FRS is not clear, they given the use case to you, right? It describes about the functionality flow. Based on that, we are going to identify which we need to test in the application. So which we need to test application identified means how to test it says test case. Okay. Let us see my example wise. So this is simple to understand like I explained, but in interview point of time we have to say like this. Use case, test scenario, test case. Use case, it describes functional behavior from user's point of view. User's point of view, it going to describes to you. Whereas test scenario, it describes a test condition or requirement which we need to validate. That means here, which we need to test is test a scenario. Use case is how system need to work. How system need to work describes for us. Then test case, it describes validation procedure of a specific requirement in application. Specific requirement in application. So that is how we need to test it is. So another example I can give to you, it is like a textbook. Content. If you read, you're going to understand the content. Whereas it is like a questions. Whereas it is nothing but answers. There's a relation how it is going to be. Use case like a textbook. Content you are going to understand. Test is nothing but questions. So where are test is nothing but answers. What type of questions we can ask from this chapter? If you know the content, you can understand it. What type of questions we can raise. So the for these questions, answers are nothing but so test case here. That's the relation how it is going to. Okay. Next. So next session, I am going to explain to you how to identify some scenarios. An example I will show it is. Okay. So visit my website. It is going to be completed within a week. The content website is going to be available for us for the material purpose. And this is my mail ID. If website is not working, you can send a mail to me for the notes or any further information required. And try to subscribe my channel Madhukar QAIT. Madhukar QAIT and watch the playlist. Go to playlist. In a sequence, I given all the manual testing sessions. So one by one, try to watch it. You are going to get the clear idea about the manual testing. Okay. Try to subscribe my channel. Thank you. See you in the next session.